Welcome to a very tragic story. If you're new here, please support this channel's growth by subscribing and don't forget to leave us a comment. In today's story, a father of three tragically lost his life at the hands of his lover. This is the tragic story of John Price and Katherine Knight. Katherine was born on October 24th, 1955 in Tenterfield, New South Wales, Australia. Her mother, Barbara Ruffin, had an affair with her father, Ken Knight, while still married to another man. This scandal led to Barbara and Ken moving to a small, isolated town where they were shunned by their community. Ken Knight was an alcoholic and violent man who frequently beat his wife in front of their children. Katherine and her siblings grew up in a household where physical violence was the norm. As a child, Katherine was known to be unpredictable and aggressive. One time, it was said that she attacked a fellow student with a weapon, and her family also added that she had a history of violent outbursts. Despite this, she had a strong attachment to her twin sister and excelled academically when she wasn't in a rage. One of the most disturbing aspects of Katherine's youth was her love for slaughterhouses. She left school at 15 and started working in a slaughterhouse. She quickly became skilled with knives and took a strange liking to butchering animals. She grew up in a highly dysfunctional household, witnessing domestic violence between her parents. Despite excelling in school, Katherine developed violent tendencies from an early age. As an adult, she had a series of relationships marked by extreme violence. Some of her previous partners suffered severe injuries at her hands, including one incident where she slashed a man's throat while he was asleep. You see, Katherine Knight had spent years working in an abattoir where she developed an unusual obsession with knives. She collected and sharpened her own set of butcher's knives, hanging them over her bed as decoration for easy access and for protection. Katherine had multiple relationships throughout her life, and all of them ended in extreme violence. David Kellett was her first husband. He was a truck driver, and Katherine was obsessed with him, but the relationship only lasted 10 years, from 1974 to 1984. On their wedding night, Katherine tried to strangle him because he fell asleep after only having sex 3 times. During their marriage, Katherine would physically attack David for small reasons, including smashing his head into furniture. When she was pregnant with their first child, she set his clothes on fire and hit him in the head with a frying pan. David eventually escaped the marriage after she held a knife to his throat. Her second relationship lasted only 2 years, between 1986 and 1988. She met John Chillingworth, and they seemed to be in love. Katherine had a son with John Chillingworth, but their relationship was short-lived because she cheated on him with John Price. By 1995, Katherine had started a relationship with her third and final known lover, John Price, the man who would become her victim. John Price was a well-liked, hard-working man who had 3 children. Their relationship was initially stable, but over time, Katherine's violent tendencies surfaced. Katherine moved in with him in 1995, but when John refused to marry her, she lost it. She retaliated by filming and sending his employer stolen medical supplies from his workplace, causing him to lose his job. Despite this, John allowed her back into his life, a decision that would cost him dearly. In late 1999, John became increasingly fearful of Katherine. He was able to get another job and had told his friends and coworkers that if he ever went missing, it was because Katherine had killed him. On February 29, 2000, after another violent argument, John kicked Katherine out of his house. However, later that night, she returned, and he let her in. You see, John was unaware of what was about to happen. This was around 10 p.m. that night. He was unaware that these were his final moments. Before then, at about 7 p.m. that evening, John visited a neighbor and told him, "If I don't show up to work tomorrow, it's because Katherine had killed me." After entering John's house, Katherine seduced him, and they had sexual intercourse. As John fell asleep, Katherine retrieved a butcher's knife, one of many she owned from her slaughterhouse days. It was a stainless steel butcher's knife with a 20 centimeters blade, similar to those used for slicing through animal flesh and bone. These knives are designed for precision cutting, skinning, and dismembering livestock, making it the perfect tool for the horrifying crime she was about to commit, a crime she had well premeditated. At around 5:30 a.m., she launched a brutal attack. The first wounds were inflicted while John was still in bed. Yes, she stabbed him in the chest and neck while he was still lying in bed, sleeping, unaware of what reality held. He woke up and attempted to escape, but she continued stabbing him repeatedly. He got out of bed and tried to make it to the front door, leaving a trail of blood throughout the house. But somewhere down the hallway, John stumbled before he could reach the front door. He collapsed near the front door, succumbing to his injuries. Katherine picked him up and pinned him against the doorway, delivering the final blows, severing major arteries, tendons, and internal organs. I can only imagine the gruesome sight. Katherine had definitely premeditated this act. John suffered 37 stab wounds in total, each one made with surgical precision due to Katherine's expertise in butchering animals. But what Katherine did next was beyond imagination. She did not just stop at simply killing him. She followed with acts of unprecedented brutality. Using her slaughterhouse skills, Katherine carefully skinned John's entire body and hung the skin from a meat hook in the living room. Unlike an amateur killer, she removed John's skin in one complete piece, similar to how animal hides are removed in a slaughterhouse. She made deep incisions along his torso, back, arms, and legs before peeling the skin away from the muscle and bone. This was far beyond rage. This was pleasure. This was an act of satisfaction. It was calculated and methodical, demonstrating her knowledge of anatomy and cutting techniques from years in the slaughterhouse. But hold on. Katherine was not done. After skinning John Price, she moved on to decapitation and cooking. She beheaded him and placed his head in a pot of boiling water. Katherine cut pieces of his buttocks and cooked them with baked potatoes, vegetables, and gravy, attempting to cook the flesh into a stew. This was not an act of insanity. This is an act words cannot explain. Katherine made dinner with John's flesh. She placed 2 plates of the cooked meat on the table, along with name cards intended for John's children, suggesting she planned to serve them their father's remains, an act with clear intentions to cause psychological damage to John's children. Katherine prepared 2 full plates of cooked human meat, complete with baked potatoes, vegetables, and gravy, one for each of John Price's children. She also left a disturbing note, scrawled in blood, falsely accusing John of sexually abusing her children. The next morning, John failed to show up for work. His concerned coworkers, aware of his worries about Katherine, knowing that he had expressed fears that she might kill him the previous night, they called the police. At about 8 a.m. on March 1st, 2000, officers arrived at John's home, and oh my, what they saw left them traumatized. They were met with a grisly crime scene. Blood was smeared across the walls. John's skinned body was hanging from a meat hook. A pot on the stove contained his severed head, still boiling. The dinner table was set with cooked human flesh. Katherine was found in John's bed, unconscious, having overdosed on sleeping pills, apparently an attempt to commit suicide. She was rushed to the hospital, where she later regained consciousness and pretended she had amnesia. However, forensic evidence and her butcher's knife, found covered in blood, sealed her fate. Katherine was immediately arrested. During her trial, she initially pleaded not guilty, but later changed her plea to guilty, likely to avoid a graphic trial. However, she showed no remorse for her actions and never gave a reason for her horrific actions. Psychologists diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder, but said she was indeed sane at the time of the crime and was found mentally competent to stand trial. At the sentencing hearing, Katherine's lawyers requested that she should be excused to avoid hearing some of the facts, because this may trigger her insanity, but the application was refused. When Timothy Lyons took the stand and described the skinning and decapitation, Katherine became hysterical and had to be sedated. On November 8, 2001, the justice pointed out that the nature of the crime was too grisly and her lack of remorse required a severe penalty. The majority of judgments portrayed Katherine as a monster, dismissing all details that may complicate her responsibility. They reduced her motives to illogical intentions. Katherine was regarded as a dangerous and irredeemable monster, particularly to men. She was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole, becoming the first woman in Australian history to receive this sentence. The judge stated that her crime was so horrific and inhumane. He called her crime beyond human comprehension, that she should never be released. Katherine appealed her sentence in 2006, but the court upheld the ruling, stating that her crime was among the worst in Australia's history. The sheer brutality of her crime shocked even the most experienced investigators. Till this day, she continues to serve her life sentence at Silverwater Women's Correctional Center, where she is known to be a violent inmate and often get into physical altercations with other inmates. Her story serves as a terrifying example of what unchecked obsession, violence, and mental instability can lead to. This begs the question, at what point are we to draw the line between love and obsession, hate and insanity? That's all for today, my friend. Thank you for watching a very tragic story. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and remember to subscribe to this channel for more. See you in our next video.